So, welcome everyone. This is our weekly chat where we talk about all things trekking in Nepal. My name's Michelle Hill, and I first fell in love with Nepal back in 2015 when, knowing nothing about trekking and being in Nepal or altitude or anything like that, I decided to take myself off and do a trek to Everest Base Camp. Possibly the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life at that stage, but also the most rewarding and the most exhilarating. And since then, I've been back to Nepal once to do Annapurna Circuit, and I will be back again in a few months. Weather and healthy foot pending. No, my foot is pretty almost back to normal now after having stress fractures from a previous trek. So I wanted to be able to share with people some of the transformation that happens when you're trekking, and also just some of the insights and some of the little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. And I also have I'll call him my partner in crime, Dinesh Karki. Dinesh runs Nature Explore Trek and is a guide with over 20 years experience. So in a moment, I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. And then today's topic is Everest Unveiled January trekking. The reason we've decided to do that is literally Dinesh has just come back a few days ago from trekking in the Everest region. So we'll find out a little bit more about that shortly. But in the meantime, over to you, Dinesh, if you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Namaste and good morning, everyone from Kathmandu. And I'm Dinesh from eastern part of Nepal, where I was born and brought my childhood. And I've been working in tourism sector for a long time, as Michelle said already, last 22 years now. So in beginning of this journey, I was porter supporting people, and after a couple of years doing this kind of porter, then became upgraded as a assistant guide and working as kitchen crews and helping people. Then after nearly decade of experience, I became a final guide where I took the groups and all over the Nepal, like namely Everest region, Annapurna region, Kanchenjunga, whatever, all the trekkings happening, activities, not only in Nepal. So I also led the group in west part of Tibet, Mount Kailas and Tibet too, Bhutan, like India and Sikkim, Ladakh, and many more. Like in last my 12 to 15 years guiding the groups. At the meantime, I've also got a good opportunity to trek in the West Europe and the Alps side. Yeah, it's really nice. After long experience, and me and some of my best friend, colleague, we decided to open our one trekking company, Nature Explore Trek, where Michelle and I met in 2015, right?
Yeah.
And then since that open our Nature Explore Trek, we are organizing so many groups, solo trips, individuals, like where we trekking Nepal, all over the Nepal, India, Tibet, Bhutan, blah blah. So last 8 years journey of Nature Explore Trek, we've been guiding and introduced with wonderful people from all over the world. That means we are introduced quite a lot in the market, and we have got really nice feedback from our previous clients, and really happy and really exciting. And I'm so happy, and it's really pleasant to share this my experience with now. Yeah, I'm very exciting at the moment. I'm just saying this.
Okay. And I can tell by what you're wearing today that it's pretty cold in Kathmandu this morning.
Yeah. I supposed to be not wear, but I just came back from mountains. I love this jacket because I'm used to wearing like week or more than a week. No, but you should not be wearing that much, but it's still like I love it. It's warm.
Good, good. Now, as I said, today's topic is around trekking during winter time, because a lot of the time when we talk about organizing treks in Nepal, we tend to focus on, spring and autumn are the best times to come in terms of the weather and the visibility and all those sort of things. but some people can't come during those times. And I guess today, like what we wanted to explore is that, it is still possible to trek during winter time, but also what some of the differences are. Now, recently, the trek that you set off on, were you planning to go to Everest Base Camp, or was it a trek on Everest Region?
Yeah, our trek was, we planned for 3 weeks walk, not travel date, just walk
Yeah,
3 weeks in
yeah,
the, start from foothills of Everest. The foothills means like lower part of the Everest region. We call
yeah.
like a lower Khumbu, where you started from like 3,000 meters and you go up and down, a lot of walk, a good acclimatization before we reach to the high passes. And after 1.5 week walk, we plan to go to the Everest Base Camp and then a couple of high passes like Chola Pass, Rangeola Pass, those are the popular pass in Everest region. That's our why we planned, and we trekked. Started from Kathmandu, drove to the nearest Everest region, the place called Bhab, and we did a small trek beginning of our trip. It's called PK Peak Trek. PK Peak, it is very popular and it is newly open trekking trail,
Right.
and where you can see the earliest Mount Everest view from Kathmandu. That
Yep.
means just drove to there one day and then you trek a little bit on the hillside. And from the far distance in Earth, you have a very good view of Mount Everest. Not only Mount Everest, from that trip, we see like five over 8,000 meter mountains, like namely Mount Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Loche, Everest, Choyu, and it is not only that. Included, we see like a whole like west part of the Himalayas, like Langtang
Okay.
region, Manaslu, Annapurna, and then if not there heights, we could see the far distance definitely the other
Mm.
Dhaulagiri and far west Nepal also. Most probably the PK Peak viewpoint is the best viewpoint where we see the all over Nepal, like half Nepal,
Okay.
especially the Himalayas, the orange east to
Wow.
west. And
Okay.
we're in the hill here, and we just look over all the mountains. I can have some videos and photos
Yeah.
where I will
Yeah,
share
you
for
did
that.
you did send me a couple of photos and videos,
Yeah,
and
and
absolutely.
that's the way we did first part a little bit, like for a couple of days, and we had a very good sunrise view. Of course, we are in the winter. We're chill in the morning. When it's sunshine, we don't
When
feel
you
that.
say when you say chilly, what sort of temperature are we talking? Because I've heard you talk about Nepali easy, so I want to know what Nepali chilly means.
It was not that much chilly when sunshine, but in morning and evening when sun goes down or covered by the clouds and we're in the shadow,
Yeah,
it's about like a 4 or 5 Celsius degree. Yeah, 4 degree, 5 degree, and nighttime it falls in minus, like
right,
almost like 7 to 10 in the beginning of trek, right?
right. Yep,
And then yeah, it was. But when we have a good warmer jackets and gears, the weather is perfect. There is
yeah.
no problem for view. There is no clouds. And
Okay.
when we like finish our first this pristine, beautiful trekking, and then we go down to the other side of the hill, and we trek all the way up to the where the Edmund Hillary was trekked first time when we went for his expedition to Mount
Yeah,
Everest, and
yeah.
it is also the classical Everest Base Camp trek with that called from Jiri. Jiri is the first market after Kathmandu where the boss go to
Okay,
start the
so
Everest Base Camp
is
trek.
is that that's the one I've seen people talk about, where instead of flying into Lakla, you can get a jeep to Juri if you want to, and then you can start trekking from there.
Yes, you're
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And we made that trail and halfway, not the Jiri, I mean, halfway because we already drove very long way near the Everest. That's why we don't have to return to Jiri.
Yeah.
So we met in the called Jumbesi. Jumbesi is another beautiful Sherpa town where like 500 Sherpa family live with carving like harvestings and like lifestyles, basic lifestyles, blah blah. And then we stopped there for nights, and then we heading our classical Everest Base Camp trail all the way to the Namche.
Yeah.
The Namche, I think Michelle already been there.
Yeah.
So we are
Namche. Yeah.
there,
Mm,
and where it's beautiful. We had a beautiful view, and then it is weather is unpredictable, and we
mm.
are in that winter. So that means my colleague or my friend David from US, he decided to cut off trip for this time because of his family have a little bit issue. I mean, and then the weather is a little bit changing and seems like going to snowfall soon.
Yeah.
And then we decided to stop for this time for this trek for there and from
Okay.
Namche.
All right.
And then we return back down to the let me little bit down, and then we return back down to my birthplace where I was born, the
Oh,
same
okay.
region. Yeah, and we had like a wedding ceremony of my niece.
Oh, okay. So you
And
managed to combine a little bit of family time with work time as well.
and we had a like gathering like one whole day, and then
Mm,
occasionally we met the same time, same day when the grooms come as
yeah.
our ritual things, and
Yeah.
we involved in the this local stops, and I really love to be there. And I'm lucky to involve in the family, and
Yeah.
then after that we drove back to Kathmandu just day ago.
Okay. Awesome. So from your point of view, then, if you had to list out a couple of the challenges of trekking in wintertime, particularly around the region that you've just been, what would they be?
The challenging is of course the cold as
Mm,
we are in winter, but when you have a warmer gear, like proper gear from feet to head, no
yeah.
problem. And then during the day when it is sunshine, and you need to you don't need that much warmer clothes,
Yeah.
so it
Because
will
you,
work from your like monsoon time,
yeah,
right?
you're
And
walking.
when it is like as I already tried to explain you, like when the sun goes down and we walk in the shadow, like what is not sun, then you
Yeah.
feel chill. And
Yeah.
the problem in the winter is like when you walk in got sweat, right? And then when you open your clothes and then it feels chill, and then you have that means you have a more chance to get cold.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And another things is weather is unpredictable. You
Yeah.
cannot guarantee. Like let's say now today is a very beautiful sunshine day. No, we are expecting tomorrow also same, but it doesn't. It can be
Yeah.
changed immediately into the bad weather, like mist.
Yeah.
Like so that's why winter is always for good for short trek, not for the high passes and
Yeah.
for long trek.
Right. So short treks, maybe not quite as high, but it sounds like Pikey's Peak is quite a good one to do because you get like if the weather's okay, that you actually get a fabulous view of everything.
Yes.
Okay. So I
Lucky we
guess
had a very good view in beginning.
yeah, and I guess the reward is if the weather is great, you will get a good view. But I think also people who want to trek in wintertime have to approach it with, well, this might be what we plan to do, but depending on the weather, you might end up doing something not completely different, but you might have to change and you have to be flexible and adaptable, but you can still see some amazing things and go to some amazing places. Would that be
Yeah.
a good summary? So you mentioned about, being warm from head to toe. So if people are planning to trek in winter, so what would be your tips for like the gear they should wear, and any particular preparation that they might need to do that's a little bit different to trekking in autumn or spring?
Yeah, the gears, the what we were on the trekking, the almost the gear trekking equipments are same.
Mm,
But for winter, they can those people who are planned to come in winter, they can take little warmer, right? Because we use more often rather than
yeah,
like sometime, In autumn and spring, we don't feel like wearing our main big jackets or main warmer thermals once we reach the edge of the trip. I mean,
yeah,
like the end of the trip. But
yeah,
on this trip, we may have to start from first day because because of it is the winter everywhere,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
that's the difference. So I would say definitely windproof, waterproof, because if it's snow, it's more important in this time because of more chances.
yeah,
And warm, like it's almost like same these jackets, like big jackets. Yeah, this is very important in winter.
yeah,
And more pairs of
Is that
socks.
is that a down jacket that you've got on?
Yeah,
Right.
the feather one. Yeah,
Mm.
like blanket.
It looks nice and warm.
Yeah, and yeah, it's more. We need more clothes rather than in autumn and winter. But
Mm.
it depends which how long you're planning. If you only go for a week trek, you don't have to pack that much. But if when you go like we plan to go a long way trip, and you need like a little more gears with more
Yeah,
warmer.
yeah.
Let's for example, if we do the Everest base camp this winter, we need a little more trekking equipments than in autumn and spring.
Okay, yeah, because I can remember um I did Everest Base Camp in September time, which is kind of the start of the season. So
Yeah.
it was still like it was cold in the mornings and at night. But yeah, we would start off with 2 or 3 layers or maybe even more depending. But by mid-morning, we'd be down to like just maybe a long sleeve t-shirt or a short sleeve t-shirt because you build up your body warmth through the exercise and all that. But yeah, and I do recall occasions, and also when I did Annapurna circuit, when we went up through Thorong La Pass, I mean that was cold. It was cold, cold.
Yeah.
And that was November time. So I was very grateful for my puffer jacket then. And I think I had my fleecy pants on, and I probably had about 2 or 3 layers of thermals on as well. So but then once we got through the pass and down the other side, then you don't need it anymore. So
Yeah.
um so for yourself, like you mentioned, I was going to ask you, was there any personal stories from this trip that you've just done? But you mentioned being there for your niece's wedding, which is really lovely. So is there any other little stories or things that happened along this trip that you think might be of interest to people?
Yeah, we don't have that much. Like the one is when we participate in my niece, my like family niece wedding,
Yeah.
and other story could be we are very quiet and there is not so many trekkers. We have
Yeah.
more space in tea houses, so where we just me and my friend, I mean David, we have like a whole space. Then we have like more fun, like we just having like a little
Oh,
wine of
were
mountain
you being
wine.
silly? Were you being silly?
We just have like good time. And it's
Yeah.
and then very really good opportunity to be close to the family.
Yes.
They invited and they giving good hospitality,
Yeah.
and they invite you in the kitchen, near the kitchen. If you feel cold, they can take a fire. Like I mean, shake your hand, and they're giving good food. And winter is a really good opportunity to close with the families where you
Yeah.
stay overnight, right?
Yeah.
And we have like very quiet and peace. Those people who want to hide the like crowd, winter would be the best time. There
Okay.
you will meet very less people on the trail. So that
Yeah.
means a good opportunity to introduce with the locals, and then where you have a golden opportunity to share your experience and exchange the culture, right?
Okay.
That means you can tell about yours and you can hear theirs, and you can see from your own eye how they cook and how they serve, and then you have a more chance to have organic food from the family. So that means like you have like totally different experience. That was what we got on this trip. Of
Yeah.
course, there's like sometime as winter in the mountain, most of the people back down to cities for hide the cold, for skip the
Okay.
cold because of supposed to be snowing in the mountain, right?
Yeah.
So, and we only meet like most of the like mother, like parents and grandfathers from mountain, Sherpa people. So
Okay.
young people's back to school in their own cities.
Yeah.
And this year a lot of story about Sherpa culture, about festival of them, and why we have a lot of like maybe there's not nice question, but we're asking a lot of question why you are just staying and sending the children. In this case, they answer us. They love to stay in the mountain as they're born and brought. So they don't want to go back to the cities. They have a different dress, like not like this proper jackets. They have a Sherpa dress, wearing like
Okay.
big hats,
Yeah.
and once a month they just wash the one time face, no shower for 1 year. And this is like it's really different,
Yeah,
different, totally
it sounds
different.
odd to us, but
Yeah.
normal for them. And as you were talking, what I was thinking too is that, you know, often when you organize treks, you have a group of people that you take. So like they get time with you. But when you trekked with David, it was just you and David, wasn't it? So it was really like a one-on-one trek.
Yeah, David is my friend from long time. We is in Nepal
Yeah.
with this time, I think 22 times. I met him
22
in a
times.
long time ago, and he's like my good friend, you know. So
Yeah.
when he come to Nepal, he always want to go with me
Yeah.
because we've been trekking so many different areas of
Yeah.
Nepal and Tibet, and his family and you know, like they always suggest me to go with me, and then I ask him to go with someone in the
Yeah.
main season, but he waiting me, and then that's why we choose in winter, because as I'm free and finish my
Yeah.
other job.
And the reason I raised that point, I think, too, is that sometimes people are hesitant to book a trek because they feel like if they're in a group, that even though like a group won't pressure you, they might feel like they have to keep up with the group, or you know, being in a group might not be the right situation for them. So what I just wanted to make clear was that if people want to come and do a one-on-one trek just with either you or one of your guides, that it's perfectly possible to do something like that as well. Obviously, if it's not a group, then it's going to cost a little bit more, but it really then would cater for somebody who wants to do their own thing, take their time, and if they see something that really interests them, maybe stop and stay for an extra day, rather than, you know, if you're in a group and you're trying to work to an itinerary, sometimes you kind of have to keep going because, like, you know, you've got to get to a certain point at a certain time. But if you choose to just do like one-on-one with the guide, like literally, you know, whilst they can suggest things, you're much more in control of how long you spend at a particular time and what you actually do. So that's a different way, I think, of thinking about it, rather than just looking at, okay, these are the itineraries of the different tours. And, you know, for some people, they might not find an itinerary that works for them, or a date, or, you know, within the normal period of time. And when you were talking about Pikey's Peak before, like my brain was starting to go, oh, maybe I should come in winter time and do something like that. That could be really cool and give me an excuse to get a new down jacket. Now, Carolyn, we've been kind of um, taking over the conversation. I just wanted to check in and see if you had any comments or questions that you wanted to add to today's discussion.
Oh, no, look, that just sounds fabulous. I mean, for me, I love different cultures, having grown up in PNG and Papua New Guinea and remote parts of Australia. So being able to immerse in the culture and get that little bit more exposure to people and behind the scenes stuff, you know, it sounds fabulous. Having grown up in the tropics, I'm a bit scared about the cold, but yeah, you know, you can put as many layers on as you like, as long as you can still move your arms and legs, I suppose. So, yeah, I'm not adverse to that.
Well, Carolyn, I live in Brisbane, so it's not super cold here, but the trick for me is the thin thermal layers. And the last trek I did, I had a couple of really nice merino thermals, but again, it's not about the big, thick, bulky stuff. It's about having two or three or four or five, depending on what you want. You know, I mean, you don't want to feel like Michelin Man, but when you have, you know, several thin layers together rather than one great big thick layer, that's way warmer. And you would be amazed at how warm these down jackets are. And I have a -10 sleeping bag, which, you know, I used in the Northern Territory this year when it was below zero, and you know, I was fine. I was warm and slept really well. So sometimes it is a little bit of mind over matter as well.
Yeah, well, I've definitely got a below 0 degree rated sleeping bag, and I've got a property up in Atherton Tablelands, which in August this year was 0 degrees to 4
Yes.
degrees, and Gigi and my service dog and I were sleeping in the car. And, you know, with a couple of layers of, you know, a thin layer on and my flannel jammies and my sleeping bag and a beanie, and we were fine. You know, I even found myself putting layers off during the night. The dog, of course, wouldn't get out of the car until it was 15 degrees. So I'll be leaving the dog behind if I come in winter. I'll be leaving the dog behind regardless. Sounds fabulous, Dinesh. And yeah, you've given me something to think about in terms of timing. Definitely.
Yeah, well, come along next time and we'll give you something else to think about.
Yeah, definitely will. How do I catch the replay for last week? Because I missed last week for a variety of reasons.
I will send you the link. And I will post it on my Facebook as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, love. That'd be great.
I'm just making a note here. Last week's replay to Carolyn. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Dinesh?
Not really. So
Okay.
it's really thanks for Caroline in joining with us.
Yeah.
And welcome to Nepal when it's convenient for you. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
right
now next
so right at the top of my bucket list.
Yeah. So next week we didn't really have anything planned because Dinesh was supposed to be away. So we might do the one that we missed out on, and that was let's talk about the benefits of doing Annapurna circuit versus doing Annapurna base camp, and what are the pros and cons of that. So I'll put some notifications up about that, and we'll look forward to seeing you same time next week.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
the cyclone doesn't blow me away, I'll be there.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
I'm just
Love to you. Bye.
Bye-bye.